Hello Tenno. This is my first YouTube video. I am doing this in the same setup as I do my Twitch, so it is cross-compatible with if I upload any VODs. But today we're going to be going over Xaku Prime. Now Xaku Prime, out of all the ones I do have, like Mesa Prime, I've got Wisp Prime, Excalibur Umbra, Vara Prime, and just the normal warframes, Xaku Prime has been my favourite. For a very simple reason of, you steal the enemy's guns. Now, I can't stress how good this ability is. I don't know if you can helmet fit, but this is a lower tier guide which I'm going to be doing for Xaku. This is about just before Steel Path and getting ready to go into Steel Path. But the guns which you steal from enemies in Grasp of Loke scale with the level. That's why you don't see much of a big damage indicator. If we just go back to here and go to abilities, it says 67.5 damage. Now, that's not the case here. If we go over to here in the Cephalon Samaris, we will be able to see how much damage you actually get out of the weapons that you do steal. We'll show you multiple different levels, as well as using Xaku's fourth ability, the Vast on Time, which basically shreds the armor from enemies and makes them more vulnerable to void damage, which is the type of damage that these guns will do. This is very important as you want your fourth activated at all times. As you can see here, if I place this or I use my second ability here, if I just go over here, we can use Zarya's Whisper for this. You can see the timer going down. We press our Vast on Time, the timer freezes. This is the main reason on why Xaku is so good and why Xaku is one of my favourite. So for example here, we have 20 level 10 elite lancers, and another good thing which they finally did, I believe it is in here, possibly it's not in here, but there is a way, here we go, in which we can keep how Xaku normally looks, because it's not the best look. Let me kill all these because these aren't the way it is meant to be. Here we go. So if we kill enemies, there we go. It's because I was testing out other things earlier on. We'll pause AI. Here we go. So our AI is paused here now. And it has also gotten rid of all my energy. This is a very good room. You can get it for 50,000 standing with the Cephalon Samaris. But if we go over here, we will test this first without using the fourth. As you can see, 509, the enemies disappear. We'll be able to see that Shade plays a very big part into this build as well later on. But if we go over here, it's going to be very hard to be able to actually get close to these enemies until this timer runs out. So we have obviously all these enemies killed. If we just go over here, sorry about that, I'm just coming off a cold right now. Obviously we can simulate 10 enemies spawned. There should be more than 10 enemies. There we go. And as you can see, it's now gone down. We don't have the guns anymore. So if we press our fourth ability first here, and if we didn't kill them immediately, I don't think we're going to be able to showcase this, just due to the sheer fact. Obviously it was on 509 damage before. Because my Xaku has so much strength, I'm not able to showcase you on a lower level. So let's just take this to level 50 now. They're going to have a lot more shield now. If I kill all enemies, and then there we go. If we go over, obviously Xaku goes off of the level in which you take the guns off the enemies. So for this to actually be effective, we're going to have to wait for this to go down again. Normally you wouldn't have these guns down. Obviously the level doesn't change between 40 levels like that rapidly. The main part of whilst we wait is energy. You're going to need energy on Xaku a lot. And I will go into a helmet, which is very utilized on Xaku, because it just helps keep the energy sustainability alive. So here we go. We have 774. And then we class this. This is hitting for 2,420 per shot. And with the max amount which you can have, sorry, don't know why I went into there, which is 15. Obviously, these shooting once per second, or to be more precise, 1.2 times per second. You can see that the numbers start to add up. There we go. So we'll simulate. Hold up a second. There we go. So this is what it does just normally without the thing. We have 1,614 compared to the 2,400 and something which we was hitting for. Obviously having Vast on time activated basically at all times is very important. Another thing I want to showcase is the ability you will be using most, and that is being, I don't know why it's only let me spawn 18, but that is Gaze. Now Gaze makes tendrils or tentacles, I don't know which one it is. It specifies differently depending on what it is. But this will, I don't want to shoot that one because that'll damage the other ones. But as you can see, this does not take damage. However, all the damage which is being inflicted onto this here Elite Lancer will be put out when I do actually thingy. I don't want to have him released yet, as I want to show that when we take these guns, and because of this we can now see we're getting up to 4,000, because this also damage reduces the enemy shields. It also allows for our guns to hit for more in this very wide radius. As you can see here, it shoots for a lot more, and it is a very wide radius. I think it is about 30. It is 31.8 meters on the radius. So obviously that then doubles onto the other side as well, and in every direction. So as you can imagine, it works very nice. And here we go. You can see he died because it ran out of time. Now if we go to here, grab a bit more energy, and we're going to clear, and we're going to put these up to, with my current mastery rank, I'm only able to go up to 80. So this is just Pride. Steel Path is your Steel Path enemies will be level 100. But we're going to here, and we're going to spawn 20. Does not let me spawn 20. I don't know why I was only allowed to spawn 18 before. But obviously, we're going to go in here. So you would want to build up your energy, which a very good way is to use your operators. So you have your drifter and you have your operator. If you have gone through a cert, I'll go through it later, but you're able to do Wellspring, which will then boost how much energy you can receive. It'll give you around about 30 energy per use, and you can really spam that on the operator. The operator has no other real use with this build. If you want to use the operator, you can, but it's not a need. So obviously, first off, we're gonna select an enemy to entrap, and we're gonna take the guns. As you can see already, 3,600, and then 5,528. And obviously, we'll be able to show you this because I can. The buttons are sometimes a bit too hard to press, but you'll be able to see how much damage he actually can store. He obviously stores all of these status effects as well. So just in 8 seconds, we'll be able to see him. We'll get a massive number here in a second. As you can see, 330,000. It can kill any enemy. Some enemies aren't able to have it used on them, but as you can see, our 4 can go from that distance, and the 3 can go from a very large distance, and it casts up to a very large distance as well. You can't really see where this comes to an end because of the level it's on, but it's around about here. Yeah, here. Obviously, it'll go out a bit more, but we can't really see that well. But yeah, so from here, it's going all the way out to there. As you can see, it's a very strong ability, and any enemy within this range will have. So as you can see here, Gaze grasps targets in void tendrils and captures the damage and inflicts it when the target is released. But we can also see it has a defense reduction of 67%. Obviously the normal duration, and then the range in which it can be cast is 66.25 meters. Obviously a very long range. You can also have 2 of these active at once, so I can go here, pause the timer there just for that one. And as you can see, from all the way over there to all the way over here, is now got a 67% damage reduction. Here we go, this is a bit better. So there's a little bit here, obviously cross overlapping, but you wouldn't really have this in an actual game. And it does reset the timer on them. I don't know if that will then, if I do this, I don't know if this one will go out before. I do believe it is set. So that is set to its own timer, and then this one is set to its own timer as well. So if you don't cast them at the same time, it can be a bit problematic, but when playing Xaku, you should always have Xaku's 4th ability up. As you can see here, none of the timers go down whilst Xaku's 4th ability is up. This is why energy sustainability is such a big thing within Xaku's kit. So let's go into Xaku's kit. For the mods, we're going to be running corrosive projection. So obviously we have the shield reduction from before. This helps us cause the enemies to lose even more armor to where they're basically going to have no armor when we're going up against them. This is going to be a huge help. Next, we're having power drift, which is plus 15% ability strength and plus 30% chance to resist knockdown. This is really important because we get the chance to resist knockdown, especially for mowers and stompers and stuff like that. This is really important, and Xmas enemies. The ability strength obviously helping boost some stuff. For example, the initial damage in which Grasp of Lock's equation comes in, as well as the damage from Deny. If you do want to use it, you can use it, it's not a need, and the damage in which the Vast Untime gives enemies when it is cast. Obviously here we can see it gives enemies a 33% slow on the Vast Untime as well, and a 50% damage vulnerability to Void. Reason that damage vulnerability to Void is very important is because that's what the weapons in Grasp of Lock use. It only uses Void damage and no other damage. Next we have Constitution, there we go, which is 40% faster knockback down recovery. Obviously if you do get knocked down, you have faster recovery, and 28% ability duration. Overextended, which is plus 90% ability range and minus 60% ability strength. The reason you'll see that we are modding for range is because this is where Xatu's Whisper, Grasp of Lock gets their max target. For example, the normal at level 30, the normal amount of weapons that Xaku can acquire is 6. With this mod, we can acquire 15. These shoot at 1.2 times per second, so obviously we're firing on roughly about 17 shots. Obviously when this goes up to 5,000, the maths does the maths itself. That would be roughly around about 85,000 damage a second, in which you can do to a single enemy. If that is obviously one enemy there, and you have about 5,000 damage per second on each gun, and obviously with max ones and no different fortitudes on the enemy. That was a lot of explaining, sorry about that. Next we have Agora Reach, which is 40% ability range, and 40% of energy spent on abilities is converted to shield. This is very good for the sustainability of Xaku. Obviously, we're not the beefiest of warframes. We have 165 armor, which reduces damage to health by 35.8%. Shields are not affected by armor. Obviously, we have 353 shields, which is shields reduce damage by 50% for all damage types except Toxin, which bypasses shield. And 359, which health, which is obviously how much damage you can take before you become incapacitated. Next, we have Transient Fortitude, which is 50% ability strength, making our ability strength come a bit higher than not 100%, which is very important because obviously our guns do initially go off of strength, so you could mod a bit more for strength if you wanted to. But I like to mod for duration as well. As you can see, our Vast Untime lasts for 40 seconds, and we'll get into why that's so important later. Stretch, which is more ability range. We have Flow for energy. Obviously, the more max energy we can hold, the less we have to really worry about it. This is typically 5 casts of the Vast Untime, but we'll get into why I use the quotation marks in just a second. Next, we have Prime Continuity, which is plus 55% ability duration. This just makes it so all these abilities last that little bit longer. Obviously, with the Grasp of Lock, that lasts just under 19 seconds. Xatu's Whisper lasts for a whole 55 seconds. That's damn near a minute. Obviously, we have these ones for duration 22.12 seconds, duration 25.28 seconds, and duration 22.12 seconds. And the Vast Untime obviously just being under 40 seconds. Next, we have Intensify, which is plus 30% ability strength. This leads us with 158% duration, just a flat 100 efficiency. Obviously, we haven't really touched efficiency in a minus or plus category. This, obviously, I've gone on about how important energy is, but we don't need this for a reason I'll go into later. Next, we have range, obviously, for the more weapons you can hold, for example, how far the radius for gaze goes, for stuff like that, it's very easy. And then strength, obviously, for your strength stats and stuff like that, and your damage reduction, and your slow. It also goes off your slow on strength. So, the reason I say it's not as important, we're going to go into this. Now, if you have this unlocked, I don't want to spoil it, but if you do have this unlocked, I would heavily imply, I'm not going to tell you how you have to play your game by any means, but the Xeneric and the Midori focus schools are the best for Xaku. First off, for energy sustainability, this is the best. We have Energy Pulse, which energy pickup grants 50% additional energy over 5 seconds. Amazing. Basically, you're getting more energy. Wellspring, the first ability creates a well of energy for 8 seconds. Allies passing through the well gain 5% energy for 30 seconds. This is good for if your friends have this as well. This is a very good ability to spam. Innermite allows abilities to cast without using energy or shield but requires 60 seconds to charge. This is why I did the quotation mark. So you will have to press your 2. Your 2, if you press it first, will take up this. This is why it's important, in my opinion, to get 100% energy before you cast your 2, which will obviously steal the enemy's weapons. Because then this will allow you to cast your 4th ability at no cost to you, and then cast your 2 at 50, which then only takes you to 50. You're not having to catch up to that 50 from before, like you would, for example, if you was to cast your 2 when you've got enough enemies around you. You will then get that cast for free, and you'll have to wait to get 50 more energy to then get your Vast on time. And in some cases, it's happened to me. I've done it before because I'm so used to playing like that. But that's what I'm trying to give the knowledge to you guys for, is because it might run out and then you're back to square one. You're just running around with your normal weapons. You're not using Xaku to Xaku's their full ability. Yes, Xaku is a their. It's made up of 3 warframes. It's not a he or a she. Next, we have the Midori. Obviously, we have Phoenix Talons. Physical damage and operator damage increased by 30%. Power transfer. This is 50% casting speed on switching to Warframe. So if you're switching between them, you get faster casting speed. Now, another good one you can get is the increased energy regeneration rate for amps and void beams. This is quite well if you are using your operator. And I believe, sorry about that, we have more ability strength. Here we go. Switching to Warframe after a chained sling adds 10% ability strength for 5 seconds. Obviously this will go up, but that is a very good way to get more ability strength. But I do highly recommend Xeneric. Obviously I'm not telling you how to play. This is all just guides. If you want to mod for a bit less range, so you have 1 or 2 less weapons, but a lot more strength or a lot more efficiency or a lot more duration, you can do that. Never let anybody tell you how to play your game. These are just guides, and that's what they are meant to be. Only guides. If you do have arcanes unlocked, I've just recently unlocked arcanes, and I am trying to farm some of them. But the best arcane, you guessed it, is to do with energy. So this arcane at unranked, which is what you'll tend to have it at if you're before Steel Path. On energy pickup, 60% chance to replenish 25 energy to self and allies within 15 meters, 15-second cooldown. Obviously this doesn't seem too important, but this goes up by 25%, 25 energy each time. Now see, when we get to rank 5, that means when you pick up 1 energy orb, so you're already getting a guaranteed 25, there's a 60% chance, so odds in your favour, that you will replenish 155 energies to yourself and allies within 15 meters. Obviously 15 meters isn't a long distance by any means in this game. I believe... Do I have any abilities? I don't think I have. I don't have any abilities which will showcase that general. If I go to shade, so I need one enemy. I need a singular enemy, so clear. And one, and simulate. Here we go. One enemy spawned. So when I go invisible, that is 24 meters. Obviously, let's call that about 15 meters. So from me to this enemy is about 15 meters. That is quite a long distance, especially on smaller tile maps. There we go. But yeah, I love when the enemy just dies from random procs. But yeah, that is around about 15 meters. So you can see that is very important to be able to have stuff like that. If you do have, obviously, the arcanes and you're able to put the arcanes in, and you do want to farm it, Arcane Energize is your best bet. It's so good on any energy intensive warframes, like for example, if we were to use Mesa, well, I will be doing a video on my Mesa Prime build later. As you can see, I'm going for a very Halloween theme with all of mine. Don't judge. But for example, 380, not as much as I would like, but it's alright. Here we go. So we have an enemy spawned here. I'll just quickly go over Mesa's abilities. So Ballistic Battery, when activated, power stores damage from caused by guns. When triggered again, the damage is channeled through the next gunshot. This is very good. It does have a buffer limit of 9,750. Quite boring. Shooting Gallery gives an ally extra damage while jamming the guns of nearby enemies. This power shifts between team members. Shatter Shield envelops Mesa in a barrier of energy, reflecting back incoming bullet damage. Good for sustainability. And Peacemaker. I think it's easier to show you. We have a damage multiplier of 3 times and a field of view of 16.9 degrees. Let me show you how good this ability is. Now see, it's going to start off quite slow, but it gets fast, and it can get very fast. Obviously, each one of these procs is about 2,000 damage, with some added status effects, which I have added in here. But as you can see, I have one enemy left here. But another good reason Mesa is like this is because you can. I know this is a Xaku Prime whole shebang, but we have Ballistic Battery up here, and there we go. I don't know where the gunshot went. I probably should have paid more attention. But that was 4,000 just straight damage in impact. As you can see, he died. He died. Which is not what I wanted him to do. He had max stacks of impact. Which is why warframes like Mesa and Xaku, where you can just stay at quite a good range, are my favourite, in my opinion. We also have a new one, Naku, who my girlfriend very cutely covered in all pink. But yes, the next videos will probably be a joint video between Mesa Prime and Naku. Obviously, I'll show you how to get Naku and why Naku is one of my favourites. Cough, cough. You get a big mushroom arc gun, which is my favourite thing. But yeah, that will conclude this video on Xaku. I know I'm currently not using Xaku, just because this is how I want to end out. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope it has been of some help, and I hope you do have luck within your adventures around the star system. And I hope this has been of obviously good help. If it has, please like and think about subscribing. It would help the channel out drastically. Obviously, this is my first video I'm going to be publishing, and I hope you have good luck out there, and I hope you stay safe, Tanner.